Hey everyone, I'm Jake, and this is Money Mondays. So it's the end of August, which means all across the country people are going back to school. And most of the schools aren't covering financial literacy topics. In fact, very few schools in the US do. Americans on average have a very difficult time with financial literacy and personal finance topics, and even for those people who want to learn more about them, it's really difficult to get access to that information. So in a recent study, researchers asked people 3 basic questions about personal finance, just to gauge their understanding of personal finance topics and basic financial education. They found that almost a third of Americans were unable to answer those 3 basic questions. Now, they surveyed people of all ages, but they found that millennials, and even those who had graduated college, didn't have the basic financial understanding that they needed. Now, in another study, these same researchers worked with a 401k management company and found that people with more financial education actually had higher returns on their investments than people with less. Now, that's pretty interesting, and it's probably pretty expected, but it does show us that there's some hope. People with more financial education have an opportunity to make their lives better and build more wealth over time. There's also evidence that people with more financial education have the opportunity to increase their everyday lives too, and not just with their investments. Now, there's another study conducted by FINRA and the New York Federal Reserve, and they looked at 3 states which had implemented financial literacy components in their high schools. These 3 states were Georgia, Idaho, and Texas. Now, after these 3 states implemented financial literacy components in their high schools, they found that people had higher credit scores and lower chance of delinquency on their credit reports. So we know that financial literacy in schools will help people in the long run. But PwC says that only 8% of millennials demonstrate high financial literacy skills. Just 8%. So why aren't we teaching financial literacy in schools? Part of it might have to do with the level of comfort teachers have with these topics. Another study done by PwC says 92% of K-12 educators think that financial literacy topics should be taught in schools. But that same study says only 31% of educators feel comfortable talking about these topics themselves. So is supporting these topics as simple as providing more training for these teachers? I don't know. What I do know is that we're asking 18-year-olds to make purchasing decisions that are possibly in the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're getting grants and scholarships and student loans and having to balance all those things right out of high school without ever being told anything about them in the past. If they're lucky, maybe they have their parents to help them out, but a lot of people don't even have that. Now, there are plenty of organizations and companies that are working hard to increase financial literacy in schools. Organizations like Jumpstart and the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center do a great job at providing resources to students and educators, but our society as a whole is not covering these topics well enough. So if you watching this video are one of those people that didn't get financial literacy education at home or at school, where are you going to get it now? Well, there are some great organizations out there that provide these services. They're just not very well known because we don't talk about this enough. Here's a bunch of organizations and companies, and links to all of them will be in the description below. Now, I know this video is long on the whining and short on the solutions, but I'm hoping to communicate that financial education is important in our school system. And as always, if you want to know more, you can check out our blog at arbogastadvisors.com or our YouTube videos at youtube.com/arbogastadvisors. Also, if you want to take that 3-question financial survey, here's a link to another video where we can take it together. Calculate the motions of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. Now, in the early 1700s, England was at war with